What's good, gang? We're back again with another video. Today we'll be tackling who won the blockbuster trade between Lakers and Mavs, where they traded AD for Luka. If you aren't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But without further ado, let's get into it. What the world saw to be the dumbest trade to ever occur in basketball history might have not been all that dumb. The Lakers and the Mavs both ended their postseason hopes with the same amount of wins. 1. So, did Nico Harrison and the Mavs take the right path? Or did Rob Pelinka and the Lakers run off with the biggest steal in sports history? Let's peel it back.
1, 2, 3.
I want to first tackle health. As the saying goes, availability is the best ability. Seeing how far that got LeBron. A common talking point is both players' health. If you're a Mavs or Luka fan, you're more than aware of the lingering injuries Luka has had and played through for the past 2 seasons. If you're a Lakers fan, you've heard enough AD glass jokes. For this reason, a lot of people are saying Lakers win in that aspect because of AD hardly being healthy. In AD's 13 seasons, he's only had 2 seasons where he's played under 50 games. Both in a Lakers jersey, and that gave the false notion of him hardly being available. Speaking more recently, AD just came off a near 80-game season, and he's played more games than Luka that season. So far, as for health goes, I would say they're pretty equal in that matter. Next is stats. When it comes to stats, you're guaranteed a double-double from either player for more than 50% of the games they've played. With Luka, you're liable to even get a little more than that and reach a triple-double for about 25% of games played. However, with AD, you may not get that triple-double, but you'll get great defense every single night. But let's really delve into these stats from both players as much as we can through scoreboard watching. Starting with points, Luka was averaging an astounding 33.9 points per game last season, while AD had 24.7 points per game. Let's break those numbers down some more. At first glance, Luka would look like the clear favorite, but Luka was also taking 6.7 more shots than AD and 1.9 more free throw attempts. So, let's filter to field goal attempts first. 6.7 being the difference in field goal attempts, multiplied by 0.56, which is the percentage or probability of an AD shot going in, which is equal to 3.75. Now, we'll multiply that by 2, roughly the amount of points you'll get per AD shots. So, 3.75 times 2 will give you 7.5. 7.5 plus 24.7, which is these averages for last season. Add those up together, then we'll get 32.2 points per game. But wait, that's not all. Now we take the difference in free throw attempts. AD is an 82% free throw shooter as of last season. 1.9 being the difference in free throws attempted times 0.82 will give us 1.6. Now we're adding 32.2 plus 1.6. These are the numbers we get per filter attempts as Luka was a higher volume shooter than AD. When we add this, we have AD at 33.8 point per game, rounded from 33.758. And we have Luka at 33.9 points per game for last season averages. And if you prefer true shot percentage instead of using raw field goal and free throw percentage, then we can filter like that too. 6.7 plus 1.9 difference in field goal attempts and free throw attempts will give us a total of 8.6. If you take 8.6 and multiply it by 0.62, the percentage or probability of AD field goal attempts going in, you will get 10.7. If you add that 10.7 to 24.7 points per game, AD's averages for 2023-2024, you will get 35.4. So, although Luka looked like the clear winner of points per game, it's simply because he's taken a lot more shots than AD, and AD is bound to give you the same or even more than Luka would if you filter it to points per game per field goal attempts and free throw attempts added together. Next, assists. Don't have to delve into this. It would be silly. Luka's the far better facilitator. And as for rebounds, AD is clearly a better rebounder. However, rebounds and assists are both something I will revisit in a bit. As for defensive stats, Luka has AD beat in steals by 0.2. Doesn't really say much, but an advantage in his advantage. AD was also playing the 4-5. Steals aren't necessarily your priority there. Not that steals are really a great defensive metric, but cool anyways. Another stat I will come back to. Next, blocks should be clear as day. Turnovers, AD has less, but again, AD isn't facilitating as much. Did I say all that to say this? Alright, going back to all those, there's a couple stats I want to coin that kind of give more detail and show fair contribution from player to team. For instance, you can say someone averaged 10 assists or 10 rebounds. Alright, that's cool, but what does that really mean? What did that do for the team? These terms and stats gave more meaning to stats like assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, etc. It's pretty simple. You're taking the average and multiplying that by 2, which is points it can lead to. Starting with assists, but before I do assists, let's do quote-unquote true assists. Assist averages minus turnover averages. Luka averaged 9.8 assists on 4 turnovers, so that's 5.8 assists. Try to follow along because there will be a lot of numbers flying around. AD averaged 3.5 assists on 2.1 turnovers, giving us 1.4 true assists. Put those numbers to the side. Now let's quantify rebounds. For this, we'll only focus on offensive rebounds. This is because offensive rebounds have the probability to lead to second chance opportunities, which will give your team another chance to score. Pretty simple concept. Luka has 0.8, AD had 3.1. Put those to the side as well. Now steals. Steals can lead to an extra possession for you and can lead to more points. Luka has at 1.4, AD 1.2. Then blocks. Much like steals, give an extra possession for your team, which can lead to points. Luka with 0.5 and AD with 2.3. Woo! Alright, great. We have a lot of numbers, but what's the point of these numbers? We'll quantify these by multiplying by 2. Once again, 2 being the total points it can lead to. Just kind of the median of points that you could get in a basketball game to keep it fair. Why is this important again? Because it shows how many points a player will be giving to their team, giving us a real point per game. Firstly, Luka, 5.8 true assists plus 0.8 offensive rebounds plus 1.4 steals plus 0.5 blocks, which will give us 8.5. Multiply 8.5 by 2, and then you'll get 17, making Luka's true point per game a total of 50.9. This roughly how many team points Luka will account for per game. Now for AD, 1.4 true assists, 3.1 offensive rebounds, plus 1.2 steals, plus 2.3 blocks, which will give us 16. Add that to his point per game filter to Luka's usage on field goal attempts and free throw attempts, which in raw form is 33.8. You'll get 49.8. If we use his true shot percentage point per game, which was 35.4, which is a little more accurate because this can also account for threes and ones, etc. We get 51.4. Whichever you choose to use, either way, in the end, not very much different in stats for a contribution to team points per game. However, once again, AD is obviously the better player by a light year in terms of defense. So although both equal in offense, you're getting the more on defense from AD. Now, let's look at the pieces around them. I don't want to spend too much time on this as they aren't the main focus of this video. So I'll just go through position by position at face value. Who's the better player? Not using AD or Luka in either comparisons. Also, we'll look into contribution from these pieces as a whole in a playoff setting to quantify the better roster. Once again, skimming through face value stuff. Alright, head to head for pieces around them using the 8 rotational players. Kyrie versus Reeves, a no-brainer. It's Kyrie. Clay versus Braun. Even at year 20, still Braun. PG versus Rui. PG takes the cake here. Gafford versus Hayes. Gafford by a long one. Christie to Dalton Netch. I'm going to have to take Christie on this. Najee versus Vando. I'm going to have to go Najee. Caleb Martin versus Dorian Finney-Smith. Caleb Martin by a slight bit. As the list goes down, it only gets worse for Lakers, really, especially on a defensive standpoint. Even more so when you realize Mavs broke the blocks records for their franchise in their one healthy game playing together. Well, actually, it was their one healthy half. Unfortunately, AD had to go out early due to no contact injury. As for coach, I'll give it to the Lakers with JJ. Never been fond of Kid. I'm definitely not going to start today. As for playoff success, it's Mavs by a very long shot. A common misconception is Luka led this pack of bums to the playoffs, but no. The reason they got that far was because of defense. Once they acquired DJJ, Gafford, and PJ, they went on an insane stint post-All-Star break. That only continued in playoffs. Luka had one of his worst playoff performances last year. Although he led in every stats, it's irrespective to his actual contribution. If you look game by game, he really only had a few games. He was a key factor to Mavs winning. He had one good game versus the Clippers, 3 good games versus OKC, and I'd say 2.5, but I'm being nice, so I'm going to say 3 versus Timberwolves, and 1 game where he actually performed versus Celtics. So 8 good games where he was positive offensively out of 22 games. And we don't really have to touch base on defense as well. Yeah. Anyways, all in all, I think Mavs won this trade. It might have seemed like a big steal for the Lakers, picking up today's most impressive young talent for what people claim to be a bag of chips. But when you really deep it, it's not that crazy of a trade after all. Aside from the age disparity between Luka and AD, but on court using both their generational 2023-2024 seasons, which happen to be some of their best seasons in their career, if not their best. You see that they aren't far apart, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on AD. Really want to see what the Mavs can do if Kyrie decides to stay and the squad is fully healthy next season. I think they have a chance at the championship and a chance to win it all for once.